data inside the state. Mutability means that you can go and mutable for a state variable, allowed exactly one assignment at the constructor time, and it's a constant afterward. So it's stored in a code. And so later on we're going to look at this. Use defined type of truck and enum. So we're going to learn about how to using truck and enum for these two data type, user defined data type, and then we have an event. So actually entire of the smart contract, usually you may have the event because you need to call by the front end to handle the event, handle passing back the data back to the front end, and this modifier actually is together with the function one. Okay? Together with the function, you define your function. Okay? So now, first thing we wanted to learn about smart contract inherit from another smart contract. So how to go and inherit from another smart contract is that under the internal function, access inside the current contract and inherit a contract. For example, here got one contract called standard policy. Okay, standard policy. Then after that, you create another contract called Malaysia. MAL stand for Malaysia policy is standard policy. What does this mean over here? You imagine that, let's say you are doing some insurance company, you going to create a DF for the insurance. So that's why you have a standard, you have a certain standard policy need to be applied. Okay? Okay, standard policy need to be applied. But in terms of Malaysia and also let's say Singapore, the insurance policy will be slightly different. So that's why this one, Malaysia policy is a child. So standard policy is a parent. You inherit the function from the certain function from the standard, from this standard policy from the parents. Then you further to write, further to add on your additional policy which is related to the Malaysia. Okay? So this is a child and parent. So later on we're going to move on to demo for you how to write this thing. Okay. So now this is an exercise that we need to go. Okay. Need to go to create a standard policy, single inheritance exercise number 1. So have a look at the exercise number 1 here. Parent and child smart contract, single inheritance. So parents and child smart contract in one source file. So now telling you have a parent and child contract written in one source file. How you're going to call? Okay, so it's like in the parent's contract, you create an unsigned integer. Okay, unsigned integer internal state variable called sum. Okay? Unsigned integer variable state variable called sum. Then you also go and create another function called external function. So you go and learn internal state variable, and you're going to learn about external function called external function called set value function that has a local variable a, b value. Variable a, local variable a and b with the value and add it into the sum. So as you can see, you are adding the value to the state variable sum, but however the sum is declared as an internal state variable. Okay. So now in the child contract, in the child contract, smart contract, inherit from the parents one, you need to have a child contract inherited, from the parents contract, smart contract. So you need to create a public get value function to retrieve the sum data. Okay? To retrieve the sum data means that you need to access back to here to get the sum data from here. Because this function has been created as an external. It means that external function is only can be accessed by outside of the contract. So outside of the contract is the parent contract. So just now this function set value you declare as an external. So even this function is only can be called by other contract. outside of other contract, outside, based on here, okay? Visible only from the outside the smart contract. So you can't use it in your own parents' one. Okay, you must use it for a child. In this example lah, external. So that's why previously we always use a public, declare as a public, okay, for our function. But now it's external. So that may create calling call. You may go and create a calling contract. Okay, and you instead of call directly from the child contract, change the getting value function to the external function. So what does this mean over here? You can go and create the instant. Okay, you can create another contract called calling contract, and inside you can create an instance of the object of the child, and then from that child you call your parent from that function. Okay? So now everything we write in one source file. So now if you this is the exercise, so everyone do it together. Still not yet, still not finished yet. So this is the second. You need to have the first one done first. Only then you can do this exercise. So this is the second part of the exercise. Instead of putting everything in one source file, okay? Maybe in certain situations it's not logic, okay? Because usually parent contract is in one source file, then child contract is another source file. So in this case, it said that you may go and modify. Okay, you have a two method. Okay, so that from the part 2 here, so that parents and child contract, you put it in a different source file. So what is the method that you can use if you are putting on a different source file? You can use import method. Okay, you can use the import method in a child contract file and use this code as contract child is parent. Okay, so this is we are separated up our program. So method number 2 is you can create the abstract contract interface in a parent contract. Use the import method, okay? Import from the parent and create instance of the abstract in a child contract file instead of directly using parent. So this is 2 different methods. If your two contracts are allocated at 2 different files, how you can go and talk. Okay, now this one we cannot do first. We go and do the first one, the first slide first. After we done this, then we come to modify our program, come to this part, how to using different method. Okay, so okay, so now we are going to a remix. I change the color first. Okay. So then I come back to here. Okay. So the whole thing I call it as a single inherit. Actually we have a multiple inherit or single inherit. Okay. Okay. Single inheritance dot store So in this example. So any name so I wanted to represent things our code showing you that everything So every contract, all the contract will be written on this one source file. Okay. So continue. So in this case, I just add in, just make sure I have this is a lab 5 exercise. Exercise 1. Go back to this one. Let me have a look first. Okay. So file. So as usual, we go to create a SPTS first. Okay, SPTX license identifier MIT. So I need to go, as usual, I go and change my compiler time. I want to be auto compile. Okay, auto compile. Okay, hold on first, the error message straight. So then I coming back to Prac. Am I right? Prac solidity, because I'm using So greater than, you can have a greater than or equal to 0.8.0. You can define the range or less than 0.9.0 also can. You can do so. So first of all, just now based on the contract based on the description over there, we need to define our parent. So over here, I call it as a contract parent first. Okay. Inside this parent, based on say that we have one state variable called sum. Okay, and this sum variable has been created as an unsigned integer, and you need to define the internal as an internal. Okay, this function. So this state variable is only used for internal. So what does mean used for internal? Based on the description over here, just now I explained to you, internal is only can be accessed by current contract or the inherited contract. So it means that you cannot simply call from the front end, because I'm not design it, I did not create as a public. You know what I mean? So that's why this is only can be used. This particular state variable is only can be used between contract and contract. Used inside the contract or called by other contract. You cannot call by front end. Okay, so understand how it's used. So after this, I'm going to have a function. Also, I don't declare any constructor. I don't have any constructor based on that. So over here, I have a function. The function call it as a set value. Okay, based on here, based on this question, based on the description over here, we need to have a function called set value as an external, and inside we have a local variable A and B. Remember here, define it as a local variable. It means that it's not user input parameter from the front end. It's not parameter from the front end. So that's why over here we have this set value. So I define it as an external. Okay. So from this external, what is the purpose of the external? Based on the previous description, under the external here, access only by the outside of the function. Meaning that this function is only can be access from the outside, okay, outside of the smart contract. So anyhow, so local variable, let's say you're going to define unsigned integer, okay, a equal to 20. So then you have an unsigned integer, b equal to 30, for example, okay, just demo, telling you that the function for that. So after this, you're going to have a sum equal to, so you are changing. You can go and access this because this function has been mentioned that can be using for the current contract or inherit contract. So that's why over here I have a plus b equal like that. What happened to this external function? Missing parameter okay, so I'm missing for the extra bracket. Sorry, this is not, I don't have any written. I don't have any written. Okay, so that's why I no need to have a bracket behind. Okay. So at this moment, you should able to see you have a correct tick, compound time correct. Okay. So this is your parent, is the parent contract. So based on what we have it is, next one is, if you using this, you inherit from one contract to another contract like this. Malaysia policy is the standard policy you inherit. You can do this kind of inherit because your parents' contract are on the same file. It's inside the same source file. You can do so. So that's why over here, I'm going to write my child contract already. So I'm going to have a contract. Okay. So that is my child. So the child is inherit from the parent for this, like this way. Okay. Like this way. I can do so because parent is here, it's the same file. So for your later on, you will see that you need to go and put import if you have. So after you saw this, after you key in the contract child is a parent. So next one we need to call. Okay, sorry. Next one you needed to, let me go back to the code, the question. Next one, he said that you inherit already. You need to create a function called get value. Where you go and get the value, you go and retrieve the sum. Sum actually is part under the parents. Okay? So you can go and call the function. Over here, you have a function. Okay? So then you say that get value. Okay? Based on the question get value. And this one you define as an external because you can call by anyone. Current one or inherit. Sorry, external is can be accessed by outside. Okay, can be accessed by outside of the contract. So you put it as the external. So after that, remember get value is only for view purpose. You cannot modify based on the function. You are not modifying the state variable. So definitely you need to put it as a view. If you did not put view, I put it as a return. Then I'm going to return the value. The value that you return is an unsigned integer. So if you do that, you see whether got error or not. So then at this moment you can't see any error because of you are not mentioned about your state variable yet. You did not mention any state variable yet. So now I'm going to have a return. You go and return sum. So that's they've given you a warning message already. Okay? Based on here, he said that your warning function state mutability can be restricted to view. Why? Because you already access to the state variable, but you did not define it as a view function. So that's why you must go and know that once you go and access to the function, or you access to the state variable, but it's only retrieve the data from the state variable, then you can do so. Okay? You need to put in a view function. Okay? So at this moment, you should see that these two. Now, come to before I go and further to write this part again, the blue color sentences, he said that you may going to create another calling contract, okay, to call your child, okay, to call. You may create a calling contract instead of call directly from the child. So now I'm going to directly call from the child contract. Later on, I will going to create another calling contract. I'll give you a differences. So now over here, we only have a child and parent contract in one source file, and you also will able to see that these two parts. Now we come to the compound. As you can see under the compound here, my dear, have a look over this side. You have a two part already. Can see that you have a two contract under one source file. Okay, over this side you have a two contract under this two file there. Okay, by right you should compile your parent first. Only you have a parent file, then you can go and compile for the child. Okay, logically, am I right? So you should compile, you should go and, sorry, not compile, you should deploy your parent contract. Only then later on you deploy your child contract. Here got two deployments already. Here got two deployments. Okay? Even though file is in one file, but inside got two different contracts. Okay? So that's why I come to deploy my parent first. I go and deploy. So as you can see over here, you have an address. You have an address of this parents one. Okay? I only deploy from the parents. So here is an address, contract address for the parents. So from here, I can call the set function or not. Okay? By right, you call, you will not get any value. Can see or not? You can call, but actually it's not that appending because you are defining this is an external. External, it means that you only can be called by outside external function. Visible only from the outside from the contract. You cannot say that, oh, I'm calling this parents here, I got set value, I call. So when you call, you can't see any data given to you. Okay? Understand what I mean? So that's why I need to go and move on to declare as a child. So now I'm going to deploy a child contract. I choose from the child contract here, child contract, and I do deploy. So now if you go down a bit, you're going to see over here, you will have another contract from here. You can see that here also can get set value based on here. Based on the child. Logically, you saw, if you look at your code, your child contract only got one function called get value. Okay? Look at the code. Based on the contract child here, you only got one function called get value. Because, however, child is inherit from the parents. In the parents, you have a set value. So that's why over here you will also can see the child have a set value. Compared to this one, over this side, we go and call for a set value. I go and call for the get value first. You can see your get value is 0, 1. Can see not? Get value is 0, 1. I want to get back to my son is 0. So no matter how I call this function, I wanted to demo this set value. I call this, I couldn't get anything because this function you see here, you saw you have this, but this you define as an external. You cannot call, you cannot execute this set value because you define as an external, means that only child can call, only outside of the contract can call this function. So that's why you can see that now I'm calling this set value outside. Child is the outside of the contract. I call already. So should we have a 20 plus 30 already? Then I get value. You can see that my value is 50. Can see the difference? Anyone's got a problem? Inherit child and parents. From here cover external and also the internal function. Internal side. Understand? So I can't give you wanted to everything to be one contract, or you wanted to have a different people or different contract, then how you going to call? Okay, so now we're moving on contract. So parent and child you already know. So we're moving on the next one will be we further go and add more. Because we need to go and add this one called this part over here, okay? This one may create a calling contract. Just now we are directly call from child, okay? Directly call from child, okay? So now we create a calling contract. From calling contract, call the child, then from the child there we can get this get value function. So another level. So from here, how we go? We put everything in one. Okay? So now from here, I will have a calling contract, another contract called caller. This is a caller. So this caller does not inherit. He does not inherit to parents, child, but he go and be a caller. Okay. Define calling, calling contract, and this is a calling contract. So what we need to do here is we go and create the object for the child first. So we have a child. We need to have this. That's why I said that it's like a JavaScript plus a C. Okay, we have a child from that. After this, let's say I'm going to call it as a what is the child? Okay. I put let's say CC lah. Let's say I use CC. Okay. Okay. So caller lah, CC lah. So it's a new. For what? New child. Okay. So it means that you created. I move out. You to create an instance, okay, of this based on this contract. You create an instance, or create a child contract object lah, or we call it as a, you created child contract object lah. So now, when we wanted to call the function, so how you going to test it? You wanted to test it, so you are not directly call this get function. So under here, you're going to have another function like you testing for your inheriting. For example, I call testing, okay, testing. For that, I make it as public because now assume this is a front end. You assume this is a front end, it means that front end will not directly call from child. Front end call this one first. So that's why I define it as a public. Okay? I define it as a public. So then I go and return for unsigned integer, same thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm using my object cc, uppercase cc, okay, cc dot set. Okay, remember from the child, just now you saw that from the child here I can call get value, I can go set value, these two functions. So that's why I already created the object of this child contract. It means that I can call this set value. Okay, inside I set first, only then I go and get value. Then after that I'm using cc dot get value. So this one I need to return one. So that's why in front here I will have the word return. I'm using this to return. Okay? Okay. So from this, as I said, we are not directly let the front end directly call our child. Okay? So we let the front end program to call our contract from this caller. So this caller will go and have an object of the child. So from there we go and do testing whether from the child we can call the parent function, set value from the parents, and then we have this get value. That is its own function. So that is a part for that. So now, just now you can see that under the deploy here, you can go and have a one clause, or you have a recycle bin, that is a bin there, you delete the contract that you have been deployed just now. You delete it, just now I already delete. Okay? Just now I already delete, this one don't care one. Okay? This one is a transaction recorded. They are recorded for the previous, the 7 transactions there you don't care. Or you have your own, because this is a consider your block. He recorded down for you. Okay? As long as you are not refresh it, your block is recorded, your transaction is recorded there. Okay, we don't care for that. So same thing, what you see, you're going to see the additional contract over here already, over this side. So the same order, no matter how you have more than, as long as it's a contract, each of the contract you have the address, even though you are keep in same file. Okay? It's not located of a file, so that's why I'm going to deploy the parent first. So parent contract is here. You know that this one cannot be called. So then I'm going to have a child contract. I also deploy. So I will have a child from here. So then I call, and you have a one caller contract. From here, I deploy. You cannot directly just deploy caller one. Later on I show you. Is there any child like that so troublesome? Every contract must be deployed. Yes, that is the thing. You cannot say that, oh, in one file I only deploy caller lah. We call from the front end, we deploy caller, cannot one. Okay? So that's why you have a one parent contract over here. So you have a child contract over here, the address. So that's over here is the caller contract. So you can see under the caller contract over here, you will able to see you have only one function. Your function is only testing. And this two function is inherit from the front end. Hear me now. Whatever the front end want you to call, you only can call testing. You cannot directly call your child. So that's why I'm going to do testing from here. So is there any child? Testing no result one because of you are returning. You already said if you know you do not know, so you can come over here your debug program here. Over this side. Your value. Are you sure? You say that, is it sure? It's run. Over this side, the last one. You calling. You can see, transact to the caller, testing, pending. So we are calling to the testing function just now. Okay? For my transaction hash, so the block from the account, I don't care about which account already. So then you can see that now. From here, I'm calling from where? I'm calling from this caller.testing from this contract address. 75482D from this particular contract, my address over here. 5482D. So I'm calling from here. It's correct. Okay? So then you will able to see the value already 50. The decoder output, this is mean that you are returning back. That is a successful call this contract. You have successful to call the set value and get value at this testing function. This 50 already returning back to the front end. Okay? Already returning back to the front end based on here. From this part. You will see from here. Because it's inherit. Because over here it's not like what you have get value. Just now you can see the get value. And which one, why is not get value? Because the return sum here is considered your view function. You can see. Okay? But this one is not. You are not defining any view. I'm just calling the function from the child. Okay? Get the idea? You don't need to write so complicated one, okay? So I mean, this is the structure for that. So for your assignment, say any child should I need have a caller lah and so on. Not necessarily. Okay? It depends how you want your define your function inside your contract. Okay? So because certain function is a common one, for example, how I'm say so those for the farmer, I say the durian the farmer distributor and also the retirer. You are required to update the Durant. You need to update the Durant status. Where is it? So maybe you have a function of updating the status, the time to be recorded down. So that's why maybe this particular update for the Durant status here, because no matter that is a farmer, distributor or retailer, you need to update the status of the Durant. So where is it? Mean that now if the Durant already at here, so you say okay, now this Durant is on the farmer at what time, the date and also the time. So when the Durant ship it into the distributor, then your Durant also have another time. This is the time I'm at the farmer. Then this is the date and time under the distributor. Then the Durant move it to the retailer. So that is another date and time, because this is called supply chain. Supply chain is you need to record down your product. Where is your product? Okay? Where is your product from the beginning, from the farmer until your consumer that side? Am I right? So you go and read for that. For second exercise, the scanner no. Okay? Event scanner, the one, the eagle scan, that one no. Okay? For this one, you met. Okay, so I now give you a time, 5 minutes break. So you go and try how to make these two file, method 1 and method 2, how to import if there is a 2 different child contract. Child contract. Before this, let me go and demo one for you. So I delete everything. From here. I delete and cross. So now, what I wanted to demo for you is I directly call the caller. I directly deploy the caller, sorry. I directly deploy the caller. I did not deploy child, I did not deploy parents. So now I deploy. From here, look like quitting the caller pending can deploy. Okay, can deploy. Contract can be deployed. So your contract is here. So now I'm going to do testing. Okay, see got value or not? I forgot already. You can see the output, the other value. You can see or not? So they cannot. Even though say which one I already click, you deploy the caller, you do a testing, but under the programming over here, the code over here, you calling the function called testing, caller testing. Yes, you have a transaction and so on, but you can see that you calling the testing to where you pay for the gas at the end. Okay? You see, I need to refresh it. Why you have a value 50 over here? Let me refresh it. Okay? Refresh it. Let me refresh it. I will read the diagram of have an address for that. Why you can go and call it. Okay, you have a break. Let me do testing first. Let me do testing for it. Refresh it again. Should not have. Let me see. For the student ask me, Miss Chong, why we don't using Visual Studio code to write our source file? Because under the Visual Studio source file, they won't go and compile like this way. Okay, you can't see. Okay, under Visual Studio, so we still need to use Remix one.